We've got the all-new BMW X3.
Is beauty in the eye of the beholder?
Hang on, Zach. Oh, yeah. I like it.
Ah, boy, that's the engine I would get personally, minus some stuff. Oh, we'll get into all of that. Right now, what's under the hood of this thing?
A 3-liter turbocharged inline-6 with a 48-volt mild hybrid system. It's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission and has 393 horsepower and 428 pound-feet of torque, standard all-wheel drive.
Unfortunately, we don't have the base engine, which is a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, also with a 48-volt mild hybrid system, 255 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. Standard all-wheel drive and premium fuel is required. So this is an all-new generation of X3. We're going to go through the key standard features of the base model.
The base trim comes with a 14.9-inch touchscreen, BMW operating system 9, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a hi-fi sound system, wireless charger, power and heated front sport seats, driver's seat memory, leatherette upholstery, a heated steering wheel, a panoramic sunroof, comfort access, and power liftgate.
Well, Andrea put a post out on Instagram for us showing the car on the outside and the inside. A lot of discussion about the way it looks. We're going to get into all of that. But first of all, Andrea, I want to say BMW doesn't mess around. They know how to make a great handling and driving SUV.
Man, killing it performance-wise. It is an absolute pleasure to drive. It is nimble. This is an SUV. This is not a sedan. It's nimble, it's fast. I mean, of course, we're in the M50 model, so you would expect that. But the steering feels good. The brakes feel great.
There's one thing, though, the suspension.
In this model, yes, because it's got the M Sport suspension. I prefer it without it. I think that maybe Zach and I, have we aged out and we just want a comfortable drive?
Yeah, but the thing is, I've said this many, many times. You can watch all our BMW reviews. You really need to try BMWs with and without the sport suspension and with and without the bigger or smaller wheels. It makes a huge difference. Unfortunately, this is the one thing I wanted to say. I love this engine. This is the one I'd want.
Yeah.
In the old days, like a couple of generations ago, you could get the inline-6 as an add-on without all of the sports equipment that comes with this model. I wish they still sold that so you could get the inline-6 without this kind of crashy suspension.
Yeah, especially when you're on the highway and you've got some imperfections in the road, you really feel it. But I've got to say, noise, vibration, and harshness, BMW has done a good job with insulating the cabin. It still feels like a luxury experience, even though you're feeling those bumps in the road.
All right, so the transmission works perfectly. The calibration of that beautiful inline-6 with the 8-speed automatic, you put your foot into it, it's in the right gear for the power, it does everything. And the interesting thing is, the inline-6 cylinder has been perfected so much that it actually, and we're going to get into the fuel economy later, on the highway returns really good fuel economy.
And I've said this to Zach before, I get a high with this 8-speed automatic transmission because it shifts quickly, it's smooth, it is just terrific. And you're right, Zach, the fuel economy has improved compared to the previous model because of that 48-volt mild hybrid system.
I'm going to call you John Denver from now on. Rocky Mountain High. You don't want to hear that, do you?
No, I don't want to hear it.
Take me
And I don't want to be called John Denver either.
Well, I'll just call you Denver.
Denver's okay. How about just Drea?
Okay, Johnny. All right, let's get into the looks of this, because a lot of people are, there's two camps, Andrea. I'm in one camp and there's other people in the other camp. They just don't care. It's the new X3. They'll take it because it's the latest X3. And there's other people who are like, not quite sure about the looks of that thing.
Yeah, and you know what? First off, let's just backtrack a second. This is longer. It's 1.3 inches longer. It's got an inch more width, and the height has been lowered by an inch. So it's really got this kind of meaty, wide stance to it. It's quite bold looking. I think I'm in the camp that I can get used to this exterior design.
So I've been reviewing cars for many, many decades now. I'm old. And I've come to realize that when something's new, you're like, I don't know. But once it's been on the road for 6 or 8 months, you're like, that's just the new X3. Don't love the back of it. It looks to me like the iX, the electric SUV, and that's not a look I would embrace. And they've kept the beaver teeth to a minimum on the front grille.
Yeah, and I think you're right about the iX look. It looks a little bit too flat for me at the back. I don't mind the tail lamps. And then the grille in the front, I actually saw an X3 on the road yesterday, and it had the illuminated grille, which is an option, and we have it on our test model. It's a bit much for me, a little bit polarizing, but not as bad as the 4 Series grille. The X3 gets 8.5 inches of ground clearance, and on the base model, the exhaust tailpipes are more integrated and are now out of sight. In this M50 model, you still get them. This SUV comes standard with LED headlamps, available adaptive LED headlamps, LED tail lamps, 19-inch wheels, available 20 and 21-inch wheels. You do get a tire repair kit, but a compact spare tire is available as an option for extra. You can also change the exterior look by going with satin chrome or black exterior accents.
Andrea, we forgot to put it in what?
S for subscribe, and if you can hit that notification bell, you'll be notified when all of our reviews drop, and then you can watch them.
And make sure to watch regularly because we put out videos twice a week. The first one drops on Wednesday.
We put another one out on Saturday.
So like and subscribe. That would be very helpful. All right, so what we have on the outside is a design I think I'll get used to. I'll get used to it. It's the new X3. The inside, it's this trend we've seen from BMW over the last little while to putting a real plastic fantastic interior. So on the doors and underneath the radio, there's these panels that they change colors depending what mood you're in, or my modes. And it's to me, it's just gimmicky.
Look, they've picked up design elements of their EVs. You can see it with the door handles. I'm not sure why we have to have X3 plastered across the door handles. This interior is just a little too much for me. I like the days of elegance and sophistication when I got into a BMW and I went, wow, this feels like a real luxury experience. To me today, this just feels high tech.
You know what, Andrea? I'm just going to say it right now. This, to me, looks like it was designed for the Chinese market. The Chinese car industry is driven by features, and they like a lot of electronics in their domestic vehicles, the Chinese designed vehicles. And so BMW's largest market is the Chinese market. So they have to come up with stuff that they think will appeal to those buyers. I get it. That's their biggest customer. But to me, it's leaving me behind. And I can get used to the outside. Not sure I'd get used to this.
I have a really hard time with this. I find that the hard plastic in here and all of the ambient lighting, which of course you can tone down. You can make it less bright, you can make it brighter, you can use different color options, but it's just too much for me now. Like I said, I love the sophistication that BMW used to offer. Now, what this does do well, it's not all doom and gloom with this interior. These seats are comfortable.
Yeah, but they're also yellowy, orangey. Wouldn't be my choice. The good news is you can choose a different color.
So this comes standard with a leatherette interior, which some may be okay with because they don't want leather. The model that we're in is merino leather, and
way better than before.
Way better than before, but the problem is there's only 2 interior color options. It's this, or you go with a darker color. So I guess I would have to go with a darker color, unless you love this. There we go, we can scoot away, no problem.
That's good. Well, that power comes in handy.
It's amazing. So the center console, there's some pretty good storage here. The door pockets are also good. You've got this new shifter in here, which I don't know, I don't really love. I love the traditional shifter, but this is the way BMW is going.
The thing is, they still have the iDrive, which I applaud because I like that technology. They've improved it and it's gotten way better. But it's just the shiny hard plastic around it. That's the only fault. They have a brushed aluminum surrounding that, but it's just too much of the high gloss throughout the entire cabin. And what do you think of these air vent things? Like you have to slide haptic things
I don't love
to
it.
change the air
I
vents.
don't love it.
Well, was this something that really needed to be addressed, BMW?
I also don't like where the wireless charger is, and the cup holders is just such a big area, and you've got ambient lighting around that.
But you know what that is? That's copying Tesla.
Yeah.
Tesla has the two chargers in the front, back to the point I was making. They're chasing Tesla on the EV side, and for that, and also for the Chinese market for EVs, that's why you see this stuff in here.
Now, what BMW has done well is the iDrive 9 operating system is terrific. Boy, is it ever fast. I've said that before when we were driving other vehicles with this system. The graphics are clear, they're crisp, and I think that you will really enjoy this system a lot. It's well done. Now, this M50 model comes with the Sky Lounge panoramic sunroof. It doesn't open, but it does have a power shade for you.
Available features include a digital cockpit professional with a head-up display, in-car gaming, ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, rear sunshades, 16-speaker Harman Kardon sound system, and an interior camera. Well, before we get into the rear seat legroom and the cargo area and all that, the instrument cluster has these strange-looking rev counter and speedo. You can't revert back to a traditional tach and speedometer look.
Yeah.
You can change it with the My modes, but you can't revert back to the classic look. Why, BMW? Don't you give us that?
Mm-hmm. And another thing that's happened is the name. BMW has dropped the I off of this model, and they're going to use it exclusively for their EVs.
Well, here's me getting in the back seat. We're going to talk, should you get this or the X5 in just a moment. I got to tell you, this thing is very roomy, great legroom, amazing headroom. The seats do not recline, however. You do get automatic climate control on this one. USB ports, how does it stack up?
The X3 has 40.2 inches of front row legroom and 36.3 inches of second row legroom, which is the same as the outgoing model. In the rear seat, in this new model, there is an available tablet or phone holder, so you can attach your device for entertainment.
Then you lift the power liftgate on this model and you get a large cargo area. Andrea mentioned it already. There is no temporary spare tire.
Cargo area in this new model has been expanded compared to the outgoing model. Space behind the second row is 31.5 cubic feet, and overall cargo space is 67.1 cubic feet.
So coming up, hot topic about this or the X5 right now, it's time for your questions.
Time now for questions, coffee, and cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
Wow, love it. Question earlier, BMW X3 had a PHEV drivetrain, but then they stopped making it. Does the new X3 come with a plug-in hybrid option?
I don't know why they stopped selling it. They sold it in Canada, but they got rid of it in the US. It was
That's
an
right.
odd decision.
They sold it in Canada, got rid of it in the US. The range isn't that great on that X3 plug-in hybrid. We don't know. I believe that BMW will add it back in, and I think that it will have more range, but nothing official from
Yeah, if you look at the X5, they've done a great job with that by increasing the range. I think it's just, and it's made in the same factory, right? They're both made in the United States.
I'll try to learn to love the looks. I've been hearing that a lot. Either people love it or they hate it. If the driver's seat is far back for a tall driver, is the B pillar where the driver's left shoulder needs to be? My deal breaker issue with the previous generation. It doesn't bother me, but what about you, Zach? Because you're taller than me.
First, I got to say, you're a monster, man. But I do have little legs. So the seat I just put in the rear position, and my shoulder is right at the B pillar. You're absolutely right. But it's not an issue for me because the reality is, if you set your mirrors correctly, you don't need to do a shoulder check as much.
True.
Because if you set your mirrors, you can always do this and look beside you. Anyway, you've got blind spot monitoring, all that kind of stuff. If it really bothers you, move on down to the auto mall and get something else, but it wouldn't stop me. If you want to get a question in or see what's going on behind the scenes, make sure you follow along on Instagram. It's Motormouth_Andrea. For me, it's Motormouth_Auto, and the links are below the like button.
I actually like the look of the X3. How is the drive performance compared to the Mazda CX-70? We get asked this a lot. You know why? Because the CX-70 and the CX-90 from Mazda has an inline six with an 8-speed automatic transmission.
The Mazda is not a BMW on the cheap. It's just their interpretation of a mid-size 3-row or 2-row large SUV. That's all it is. On paper, you're going inline 6, rear bias all-wheel drive system, 8-speed automatic transmission. It's a BMW on the cheap. All you need to do is drive that one and drive this one, and after about 15 seconds, you're like, they're not in the same class. This ZF transmission this might go down as one of the best automatics ever made, if you ask me.
Night and day. There is absolutely no comparison between the two. You will pay extra for this, but you'll get your money's worth.
And now it's time for our hot topic. What's this one, Andrea?
I'm seriously coveting the X5. How does this compare as a cheaper, downgraded alternative?
Well, Andrea, if it's just dollars and cents, you know, the base model of this one is going to be a lot less expensive than the X5. But I think you have to compare this model with the inline 6 to the X5 because the X5 gets that as standard equipment. The only reason I would get the X5 over this is because of that standard sport suspension on this model. You don't get that on the base model of the X5.
That is true. So that is something to think about. For me, when I look at the exterior design of the X3, I like it. And when I look at the interior of the X5, if it offered a different interior than this, I would probably go for the X5, but they are very similar. So I think I'm just going to go for the X3.
All right, let's get into it. We touched on it already. Highway fuel economy of the inline 6 is pretty good.
Yeah.
The vital stats.
Let's start with pricing. We'll do Canada first and then move on to the US. Pricing includes freight, PDI, and fees. The base X330 xDrive starts at just over $62,500, and this M50 model is just over $78,500. In the US, the base model starts at $49,500, and the M50 just over $64,000.
Here's the fuel economy for the base turbo 4-cylinder. 8.7 liters per 100 kilometers city, 7.1 on the highway. That's 27 miles per gallon city, 33 miles per gallon highway. For the inline 6, it's 9.4 liters per 100 kilometers city, 7.8 on the highway. That's 25 miles per gallon city, 30 on the highway. With an optional trailer hitch, the X3 can tow up to 4,850 pounds. BMW offers a warranty of 4 years, 80,000 kilometers, or 50,000 miles. Complimentary scheduled maintenance is covered for 3 years, or 60,000 kilometers, 36,000 miles. So you like the idea. Can you believe they're calling this compact? A compact luxury SUV, base model. What can you choose?
For your consideration, 4 vehicles for you to consider.
Up first is the Mercedes-Benz GLC with a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, 255 horsepower, and a starting price over $60,000.
The Porsche Macan with a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, 261 horsepower, and a starting price just under 73 grand.
The Lexus NX 350 with a 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, 275 horsepower, and a starting price just under $58,000.
The new Audi Q5 with a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, 268 horsepower, and a starting price has not yet been announced.
So there are 4 luxury compact SUVs for you to consider.
Lightning round, 2 things we like, 2 things we like to see improved.
Love this inline 6.
The handling is still all there.
I miss the sophistication and elegance of the interior from BMW.
Way too much plastic on the inside of this model. So there it is. It's the all-new X3. What do you guys think of that?
Thanks for watching, and if you like what you see, subscribe. We'll see you next time.